Bill Gates may have all the money in the world, but he's got all the skill of a giant raccoon. Greetings, my fellow peace blunderers, and today we're revisiting another cracking piece of chess history. This time we're not going as far back as we did last time. Last time we did like 90 years back. By the way, if you haven't seen it, Einstein versus Oppenheimer, check that one out after you're done with this one. No, this time we're going only 9 years back. All the way back to 2014, the good old 2014, when my back wasn't cracking and my head wasn't spinning every time I get out of bed. And as you can see by the title, we've got one of the richest men in the world in Bill Gates facing against one of the men in the world, Magnus Carlsen. Now, if you think that Bill Gates bribed FIDE to get like a seed in a World Chess Championship as a contender, well, that'd be quite believable actually, but nah, this is not what happened. The game took place in a rather informal setting, at least relatively speaking. This wasn't a tournament or anything, this was the filming of a Norwegian talk show. And since it's a talk show and people who usually watch talk shows have an attention span of a 5-year-old kid at a Lego store, the game obviously could not last very long, now could it? Also, because Carlsen is a teeny slightly better player than Gates, there also needed to be some sort of time handicap. So what they did, they gave Carlsen 30 seconds against Gates 2 minutes. So Gates had 4 times the time that Carlsen had. Also, they gave Gates the white pieces, so that's advantage number 2. Also, a quick reminder to like, subscribe and comment and follow my streams. I'm probably streaming on the day you're watching, or at least on the next day for sure. So, the game begins with Bill Gates playing e4, the most common move, unsurprisingly so. That said, no matter what pretty much Bill Gates could play, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, if he played h3, h4, a3, a4, I wouldn't be surprised. It's Bill Gates, like, who knows? And Carlsen basically sets the tone for the game immediately with a funny little defense called the Nimzowitsch defense, knight to c6. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Nimzowitsch defense, it's just that you wouldn't normally play it in a serious game, it's just a bit of a keck defense, you know? Maybe Magnus was just assuming that all Bill Gates ever knew was something like e4, e5, knight f3, and he kind of wanted to get him out of his prep, but like, who cares? He's playing Bill Gates, it's just a funny little game. Knight c6, the matter of the fact is, it's perfectly fine, it just doesn't get played very often because Nimzowitsch defense is a kind of a thing that is very transpositional and it's not really a defense of its own. It tends to transpose a lot, for example, d4, d5 takes, and we're already in the Scandinavian, very, very natural transposition, and there are many other ones. However, this does not happen. Bill Gates did not play d4, he played, to his credit, another move that is very good, very common in this position, knight f3, referred to as Nimzowitsch defense, declined. Now here, again, very, very transpositional kind of position, easy to play e5 and transpose into your e4, e5s, and you get an Italian, a Ruy Lopez, whatever. But we know Carlsen didn't want to play by the book, so he did not play e5, he played d5. And this is basically inviting the Scandinavian type of position. You know, taking, knight here. Very, very, very natural transposition into Scandinavian. But again, Gates, it's very intuitive to take this pawn, right? And most of you guys will take it, I believe. And Bill Gates did not take it. Bill Gates decided to defend it, but even defending it, he did it in a way that completely gives away that he's just not a chess player. He probably knows a little bit about the basics, just knows how the pieces move. If he wanted to defend this pawn, he probably would have done it at least with something like d3, right? Defend the pawn with the pawn. But he played a baffling bishop d3. If you are confused as to why this is a rarely played move and why you shouldn't play it, is very simple. You don't put the bishop out on d3 whilst the pawn on d2 is still there, because it basically blocks your pawn. So you don't do that. You can do that sometimes when you're mostly playing black, I would say. You can sometimes play a move like bishop e6, a move I play sometimes myself. You play it when you feel kettled that bishop, so there is no need to push the e-pawn just yet, so you can sort of block it without too much detriment. However, this isn't the case. That said, the position is like still okay. Maybe black is a little bit better because white is a little bit passive, but it's fine. it's tenable. So Carlsen plays knight f6, and whenever you have this position where you can try and play e5 and you can get it for free, usually should consider it, right? But Bill Gates probably never considered it. e5 is a move that's, it's okay. It's okay. It's probably the best move in this position, trying to play like e5, knight d7, and the position is equal. Yeah, maybe white is a little bit more active now, but nothing much. Probably the engine is showing all zeros. However, just a tip, don't forget, if you can play e5 to push the knight away from f6, if you can do it, probably should do it. Probably should at least consider it. Did not happen though. Finally, a move later, a little bit too late, but Gates does take that pawn, and we kind of transpose into that Scandinavian type of position. Queen takes. Well, if you think about it, the knight could have taken, right? But probably Carlsen just said, knight. Why would I want to take with the knight? I think queen is funnier. Queen is funnier because Carlsen wanted a funny game and he got it. Knight c3 now, and queen to h5. A very, very, very interesting idea there. That was basically the reason why queen takes d5 happened. Carlsen just wanted to finish the game off very, very quickly as he could at least. Just move the queen and the king and try to make gates as soon as you could. Now here, it's about time you admit your mistake, probably, and you move the bishop back to e2, so you have this slight little battery. You've got this possibility of discovered attacks on a queen. You can move your pawn forward, etc., etc. But the thing about these businessmen, they're stubborn. They're egotistical. They don't admit mistakes like ever. So instead of doing that, which is probably the most sensible move, bishop e2, he castled. Well, castling is also fine. I prefer bishop e2, but who cares? Now, Magnus plays a move that is very instinctive now, very easy to find. I think a lot of you guys would have played it here as well, and it's probably the best. Bishop g4, pinning that knight on f3, very, very instinctive. Basically telling that bishop on d3, just come back. This is your last chance. Come back to e2, you brat. Because if you don't, if you play something like h3, at best, you're getting a ruined kingside, like so. And against Magnus Carlsen, at a high-level game, this would have been suicide. I'm not talking about Gates even. So guess what Gates did when bishop g4 came onto the board? Did he play bishop e2? No, he played h3. Just like I said, h3, and yes, now Magnus can do the thing that I just showed you, just takes, and, just slowly but surely win. But does he want that? No, he's got 30 seconds on his clock. At that time, probably about 25 seconds. He's playing very quickly, of course. He doesn't want that. Why would he want to prolong the game? Instead, Magnus played a move that doesn't win. In fact, it makes white winning, right? But it was a cheap trick, as Magnus himself later said, and a trick that he hesitated to play because he said before the game he had promised to himself that he wouldn't be doing some stupid stuff, but the opportunity came and he just said, screw it, I'm playing Gates. Like, come on. So instead of just capitalizing on this advantage, he played a move that the engine hates. White is like almost +2, but it worked, didn't it? He played knight e5, going for the tricks, and you see the question mark, doesn't like it. And basically, with this move, Magnus is hoping that Gates is going to hang something. For example, I don't know, knight 6e5 loses queen, possible from Gates, possible, sure, why not? Or, alternatively, remember that the bishop is hung, so maybe pawn takes bishop, you can take with either knights, let's take with this knight, for example, and maybe, just maybe, Gates can hang mate. Who knows? Possibilities are endless. At the end of the day, knight e5, not great, but it adds another attacker to the king side very, very, very swiftly. And basically the winning pattern for white, if you're curious, is the following. So you take that bishop that is hanging, and practically doesn't matter which knight retakes. Let's say this knight takes, we want to play rook e1. We are giving our king some space, first and foremost. Now this square is available, so mate is not possible. And we're looking at this knight. We're basically looking at this knight. We're trying to ask some questions of it. And yeah, white is winning. White is winning. Black is down a piece, and his attack is about to get dissolved. However, this did not happen. What happened exactly what Carlsen was counting on. So Gates takes the bishop, And Carlsen's like, nice, nice, nice. So he takes with the F knight. And instead of playing the winning rook e1, Gates just takes that knight on e5. Double question mark. And yes, the game didn't last very long. The game did not last very long because, well, you probably can't see it. And I showed you just a minute ago, there is a very simple mate in one, which Carlsen, of course, did deliver exactly what he was hoping for with queen to h2. The queen is protected and, you know, Gates is lost. So yeah, looking back, Bill Gates may have all the money in the world, but he's got all the skill of a drunk raccoon. But on a serious note, this game I think is a perfect illustrative example of how a high-rated player beats a much lower rated player. The high-rated player doesn't want the game to last very long. He just wants to quickly outmaneuver and out-tactic the lower-rated player, just throw enough at him so that the player gets confused, maybe under the pressure of the occasion or under the pressure of time, and just blunder simple things. That's not to say that the stronger player will not be able to strategically outmaneuver the weaker player in a longer game as well. It's just that why would you prolong the game? Unless you want your opponent to suffer, then yes, do prolong the game. Anyway, let me know in the comments below how much elo would you give to Gates, and would you be able to beat him over the board? And if you think you're much stronger than him, what should be the time handicap be between the two of you so that it's at least more or less fair? And if you just so happens to find this video useful, please like and subscribe. Follow my streams. I stream here on YouTube every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday. Find me on chess.com, join our Discord, all that good stuff. And I'm going to talk to you very soon. My favorite unintentional game is. Love you all. See ya in the next one.